Let us start this particular topic of your third unit, employee separation. And this topic is the last topic of this particular unit. We will discuss about the employee separation, different types of separation, and the process of separation. We will not be able to describe the various reasons of separation because each type of separation itself indicates, includes in itself as for what reason the employee is being separated or employee is departing from the particular organization or department. So when we talk about separation, it is basically the process through which separating it physically, mentally, and structurally from the existing setup. Very well said by Yoder that separation is a negative recruitment. It may be in the form of resignation, dismissal, discharge, suspension, retrenchment, or layoff, or any other method, which may nowadays there is a one term called off-boarding. So this off-boarding is also partially a part of your separation. The process of employee separation is usually taken by very seriously by many companies or many organizations. Say for example, in government departments, separation is considered as a very live and happy moment if it is kind of retirement. And to handle this, the retirement cell, like government is having a pension nideshalaya, something like pension department, and separate sections are there to handle day to day process of separations. In some public companies also there are some separate cells in your HR department which handles your separation process. Now if you look at this separation, there are two types of separations. One is voluntary separation and another is involuntary. So this become very simple that voluntary separation where an employee quit or resign. Now the reason of quitting or resigning may be organizational reason, maybe individual reasons. Say for example, employee may be quitting because he or she might be getting a better opportunity in some other company or in some other organization. So he may resign from one company and then join another company because this is normal process. Maybe that there is some organizational reason that employee is not able to cope up with the pressure or with the culture or environment, and under pressure if he finds not fit for that, he may resign, or if he is not interested to work on a particular assignment, he may resign. Another voluntary separation is retirement. This retirement is considered as the very happy moment, and I can say this is the only happy moment for organization as well as for the employees. Now this happy moment, you might have heard in last few days few months or 1 2 years, that state government says that those people who are above 50, there will be a screening process and we will retire them compulsorily. So it is again retirement, but it is retirement before superannuation age, that means before 60 or 58, if government is saying that yes, you are not suitable for the job, so government says you take compulsory retirement, so they retire you compulsorily. So in this one, organizational force is there, they forcefully retire you, and sometime you go for voluntary retirement. Maybe that 52 age you apply for voluntary VRS and you are retired. And there should be a third category here, normal retirement, retirement as superannuation age. That means when you achieve this 60 age, you retire. And that retirement at 60 is neither compulsory nor voluntary. It is natural process. It's time bound. So these two types of voluntary separation, they are very clear. And the reason behind compulsory retirement and voluntary retirement, in compulsory retirement, organization is not finding fit or suitable an employee and make compulsory retirement. In voluntary retirement, individual employee is not finding relevance or interest in continuing that job, so apply for voluntary retirement. So in case of compulsory retirement, there are some public personal policies. Some organizations do have this policy that if you are given compulsory retirement, so retirement benefits, they may not be similar to as in case of natural retirement. So there may be some deductions or maybe some penalty or maybe something which is not given to you. Now comes to involuntary separation. This is very common in public companies or private companies, very common. Reason is that when an employee is selected for a particular position, public policy, a personal policy allows for a particular job description and job requirement. But after certain period, either individual specification or job description changes, and because of that change, sometime it may be felt to right size the employee, right size or downsize. Right sizing or downsizing is considered as a negative terminology. So some companies are using as a right sizing. So right sizing or downsizing is considered when there is a change in the job description requirement and organization wants to separate people from the job, from the position. If company thinks that employee is not performing well, on the ground of performance, employee may be dismissed also. Now in case of dismissal, there is a temporary dismissal which is called suspension, and there is a permanent dismissal which is called termination. So we talk about the termination and compulsorily dismissal, a temporary dismissal. So termination and suspension both comes in this category of dismissal or discharge from the duty or from the position. And this is basically based on your performance, behavior, or any other reason which goes against the company. Then comes about layoff. It is a legal, binding of any company, that if company is unable to provide the load or employment to a person temporarily. Say, for example, you say that you hired 20 people, but for the time being, for 6 months or some 1 year, you do not have workload. So you can go for layoff, temporarily layoff. Layoff is basically temporarily off boarding people for a certain period. 6 months, you say these number of people are being laid off, and some amount is paid as per the rule. This layoff terminology is defined in the Factories Act 1948 in very detail, that under what circumstances factory can lay off and what are the mandatory requirements to be fulfilled by the factory and or by the employee. So in case of layoff, you must have to follow the legal binding. Then comes retrenchment. Retrenchment is also defined into Factories Act. Retrenchment is basically when you have permanent separation of people from the job on the ground of inability to provide job. Say, for example, government is closing down one particular department. Then government can retrench people on the ground that department is being closed down, and government is unable to provide you alternate option job. The example which I can tell you that some 2 decades back, UP state government closed down a department called Chalchitra Nigam. So the people who were working in that particular Chalchitra Nigam, they were being retrenched because the department was unable to provide employment, and under the retrenchment policy, they were given some lump sum amount as per the rule of legal framework, employment rule. Yes, when government retrench you, then government gives you some weightage in other department if you are applying for job. So the people who were retrenched from Chalchitra Nigam, when and where applied in other department, some of the employees, they were given re-employment on the ground of retrenchment benefit weightage that was given to them. Downsizing is considered as the right sizing of the manpower or the employee, where you may have some change in personnel policies, change in your business model, or change in your structure. So you try to right size or downsize. It is not every time downsize, it may be upsizing also. So that will be upsizing means recruitment and downsizing means separation. Now, compulsory resignation is something which is similar to compulsory retirement, but the compulsory retirement is, you can say, the compulsory retirement is that government retire you compulsorily on the ground that you are unable to perform and your upskilling is not possible or feasible. But compulsory resignation means it is a kind of punishment when government or organization ask your resignation forcefully, and this is something which is being practiced or used to avoid certain legal issues. Sometimes the company asks employee to resign, so that they cannot face any legal issues in court case or employee grievance case later on. So they take compulsory resignation. Say for example, in government departments usually it happens. Recently an incident happened. The state government, the governor, honorable governor, asked one of the vice chancellor of a UP state university to resign, and that was a compulsory resignation that was being taken by the chancellor from the vice chancellor. So you have no choice. If your boss says that resign, means resign, and that resignation is not by your choice, it is by compulsion. So these are certain methods. One method which is also nowadays common, we discuss about offboarding. So offboarding is also a kind of separation, or you can say it is kind of voluntary, rather it is not voluntary basically offboarding. It is a kind of you cannot say dismissal, but yes, downsizing, you can say, very similar to downsizing, when you are offboarded from the company. But the minor change or difference in approach or concept sometime exists, that when you are offboarded, you are given an alternate option or choice which helps you to go for alternate employment. But it is not compulsory. It is not necessary that every time company, when offboarding, provides you choice. Now looking at the process of separation, it's very simple and similar. As soon as resignation is submitted, there are two things. Your reporting boss may approve it or may not. If your reporting officer thinks that you are very much required in the company, then your boss will try to talk to you, and that is usually retaining strategy. So there is a retaining interview. Boss want to talk to you on this, that what is the reason of your resignation, why you want to leave, and what additional or extra can be done, or talking on terms and conditions, that if you want some additional benefit or additional incentive, or if you feel that you are dissatisfied because of the company, or because of the culture, or because of the any reason that is under control of your boss. So in that case, this process becomes very important. Talk to employee for retaining. So it is called retention interview. So retention interview means after this you fulfill, or your boss fulfill your demand or requirement, and employee is retained. But this is not, when employee is retained, this is not a separation process, because employee is not separated. The process goes here. If your boss thinks that yes, no issue, if you want to go, let your resignation be approved. So reporting officer's approval of resignation moves in two directions. One, employee's exit interview. Exit interview means the last interview, where employee want to say something or company want to listen employee last time, and exit process approves. And as soon as this exit process is approved, then it moves to employee clearance. Employee clearance means, now employees noticed by the department department where the employee was posted, clears all those dues, and along with that, organization also clears all the dues. And if any dues comes, employee will fulfill that. So employees no dues is important process. And then employee deactivation means if there is any network or system identity, ID cards, passwords, or login credentials, or system belonging. So that deactivation process nowadays is very important, because without this, especially in software industry, without this full settlement is not being done, because this is very important. Because if you are exiting a particular company and you are taking some crucial information, passwords or keys along with you, so that may go to the your competing company. So usually company is deactivating employees all the local networking belonging, system belonging, or other maybe that signature in banks, or maybe ID, or digital signature, etc., etc. And then full settlement. Full settlement means the final salary or final settlement of is done usually. So this is the process of your separation